I spend my time basically trying to focus on how to better myself to continue on my journey to be a better person in life. And all that time for me is wasted time. So there's no fluff in my life, man. Every second of the day is being utilized to become a better human being. I, for a long time, was probably the most unbalanced motherfucker on the planet Earth. And I think I took great pride in that. It was on purpose. It was on purpose because I knew for me to get to where I wanted to go, where I had to go, there could be no balance. There could be no, 8 hours a day, I do this. It had to be, I'm such in a fucked up spot in my life. I'm such in a dark place that if I don't dedicate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 a year to becoming a better human being, it's not going to happen. And so the people who were in my family had to realize, hey, I'm sorry that you may think I'm neglecting you right now, but if I don't fix myself, I won't be good for anybody. So yeah, I became very unbalanced for a long time. Balance is important, but you have to first go to war with yourself. You got to figure out what you're about and be proud of who you are before you start to get that teeter-totter nice and balanced out. So if you read my book and you see what goes on, you'll see how many mistakes I make along the way trying to find balance, trying to find peace in myself. And I fucked myself all up. I'm having relationships. I'm having, I get a girl, knocked up. She's pregnant. I'm in the worst spot of my fucking life. I don't have a real job. I'm going through SEAL training. I haven't graduated SEAL training. I'm going back through SEAL training for the third time. And now I have a girl that's pregnant. I'm all over the fucking place. I have no money. I have nothing. And I'm establishing a life with a family, and I'm all fucked up. So, a lot of us get in situations where we start establishing all these different things and pop up all these different pop-up boxes, and our life is fucked. Because we haven't fixed ourselves. Until you fix yourself, don't start another journey before you finish your own journey first. Or not finish it, but at least get a good, foot start into it. And I fell into that several times, into that whole man thing. Get a family, do this, do that. And I'm jacked up. I'm insecure. I have all kind of issues going on. So I'm bringing all these issues into a family. And all that does is destroy your family. If you are not the man of your house, like a real man of your house, I'm sorry, a man has his shit wired tight. And I wasn't that guy. I realized a whole bunch of times, man, God, I gotta earn something, man. So I had to go back to that man mentality and start to earn that. And a guy asked me a question yesterday, man. Am I paying now physically for what I put myself through? I said, yeah, I am. But what he doesn't understand was when I was 297 pounds and I was a piece of shit and I wasn't going anywhere in life, I asked myself that question before I decided to put myself through hell. Right. Am I willing to do it? And I willing to pay the price after I fucked myself up? I knew for me to get to where I wanted to go, I didn't have the ability. The ability was not there. So I knew I was going to break myself off to do it. Some people are born with this great talent. I wasn't smart. I wasn't some physical specimen. I wasn't any of that stuff. So I knew for me to go through all of this shit, at the end of it was going to be a broken man. So I did it. And in the process of doing it, I knew all along the way, I'm going to be fucked up one day. When you look in that mirror for so long and you're lying to yourself, you're lying to people, because I grew up in such a hostile environment, you don't know right from wrong. You don't know up from down, right from left, right and wrong. And you grow up in this very misguided way of thinking. All you want to do is change your circumstances. And in that circumstances, your mom is in that also. So your mom, who's a good woman, you see her start to change. She starts to get lost. So now you're in this hellhole, and this is where you live, and this is where you exist. So now to find myself, there was no mentors for me. There was no one that said, hey, this is how you do this. I pretty much skipped all of school. I cheated all through school. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. That was my mentality. So I had to literally talk about, a man. I had to make a man in what I thought a man was supposed to be in my mind. I created what I thought a man was supposed to be in my mind. And that's what I started doing. So I looked at myself in the mirror and So I looked at myself in the mirror, man. I wasn't proud of who I was. And I kept on backsliding. And I made the decision. When I was 297 pounds, I gained 125 pounds. I was 175 to 297. Had left the military, left the Air Force, and I was working for Ecolab, making $1,000 a month. I was at the bottom of the fucking barrel. I'd become exactly what life had made me and what I had made me too. I said, I don't give a fuck what it does to me. I don't give a fuck if I break myself off. I don't care what it is. I don't care how much pain I go through. I don't care, but this reflection in the mirror will change. I will not look at this guy in the mirror anymore because I can lie to you right now. I go back to that mirror every fucking night, and I usually shave my head almost every damn night. And I gotta sit there for fucking 15 minutes and look at myself in the mirror. And that reflection is telling me every fucking thing I'm not. And it starts to, some of us are allowed to go away from that. I was haunted. Every day, 24 hours a fucking day, this voice would be in my head. Hey, motherfucker, you ain't shit.
That's exactly what you should be doing, is trying to figure out who it is that you're trying to be, right? And you aim at that. And then you use everything you learn as a means of building that person that you want to be. And I really mean want to be. I don't mean should be, even those things are going to overlap. And it's important to distinguish between those, because that's partly, and this is back down to the micro routine analysis. So as I was saying, well, you're going to try to make yourself more industrious. Okay, number one, specify your damn goals, because how are you going to hit something if you don't know what it is? That isn't going to happen. And often people won't specify their goals too, because they don't like to specify conditions for failure. So if you keep yourself all vague and foggy, which is real easy, because that's just a matter of not doing as well, then you don't know when you fail. And people might say, well, I really don't want to know when I fail because that's painful. So I'll keep myself blind about when I fail. That's fine, except you'll fail all the time then. You just won't know it until you've failed so badly that you're done. And that can easily happen by the time you're 40. So I would recommend that you don't let that happen. So that's willful blindness, right? You could have known, but you chose not to. Okay, so once you get your goal structure set up, you think, okay, if I could have this life, looks like that might be worth living, despite the fact that it's going to be, anxiety provoking and threatening, and there's going to be some suffering and loss involved and all of that. Obviously, the goal is to have a vision for your life such that, all things considered, that justifies your effort. Okay, so then what do? Well, then you turn down to the micro routines. It's like, okay, well, this is what I'm aiming for. How does that instantiate itself day to day, week to week, month to month? And that's where something like a schedule can be unbelievably useful. It's like, make a damn schedule and stick to it. Okay, so what's the rule with the schedule? It's not a bloody prison. That's the first thing that people do wrong. They say, well, I don't like to follow a schedule. It's like, well, what kind of schedule are you setting up? Well, I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do this, and then I just go play video games, because who wants to do all these things that I have to do? It's like, wrong. Set the damn schedule up so that you have the day you want. That's the trick. It's like, okay, I've got tomorrow. If I was going to set it up so it was the best possible day I could have, practically speaking, what would it look like? Well, then you schedule that. And obviously there's a bit of responsibility that's going to go along with that, because if you have any sense, one of the things that you're going to insist upon is that at the end of the day, you're not in worse shape than you were than at the beginning of the day, right? Because that's a stupid day. If you have a bunch of those in a row, you just dig yourself a hole and then you bury yourself in it. It's like, sorry, that's just not a good strategy. It's a bad strategy. So maybe 20% of your day has to be responsibility and obligation, or maybe it's more than that, depending on how far behind you are. But even that, you can ask yourself, okay, well, I've got these responsibilities. I have to schedule the damn things in. What's the right ratio of responsibility to reward? And you can ask yourself that, just like you'd negotiate with someone who is working for you. It's like, okay, you got to work tomorrow. Okay, so I want you to work tomorrow. And you might say, okay, well, what are you going to do for me that makes it likely that I'll work for you? Well, you could ask yourself that, So maybe you do an hour of responsibility and then you play a video game for 15 minutes. I don't know, whatever turns your crank, man. But, you have to negotiate with yourself and not tyrannize yourself. Like you're negotiating with someone that you care for, that you would like to be productive and have a good life. And that's how you make the schedule. It's like, and then you look at the day and you think, well, if I had that day, that'd be good. Great. You know, and you're useless and horrible, so you'll probably only hit it with about 70% accuracy, but that beats the hell out of 0.